I'm Stonesy Boy, and welcome to the new book. It's not the book I thought we were reading. As a matter of fact, there's already 2 videos I made, fully edited, on the number 3 of the Tales from the Pizzaplex, but that's because I thought we already read this book. However, we did not. We didn't even touch this book. How I know? There's still a Target sticker on the back of it. I thought we did read it though, but apparently no. I'm just stupid. Anyways, in this fantastic book there are exactly how many chapters of videos? There's going to be 11 episodes. That's usually right. With the first one being Help Wanted, the name of the game, Happs, and B7. I wonder if that's going to be Star Wars. Alright, well, without further ado, let's begin into the new story. Help Wanted. Why is the men's room always such a nightmare? Steve sprayed the toilet and walls with disinfectant. It was weird. The women's room never needed anything but a basic mop, wipe down, and replenishing of soap and toilet paper. But when taking care of the men's room, he always felt like he might as well be cleaning the monkey house at a zoo. Steve never thought he would be scrubbing toilets at a gas station for minimum wage, which is digital art and design skills. He always figured he'd be working for one of many tech companies in a booming city, preferably designing video games. He had billion ideas, many of them better than games that were already on the market, if he did say so himself. Yet there he was, with a toilet brush in one hand and a bottle of spray cleaner in the other. For the past several years, he had applied for any position at a tech company that he was remotely qualified for, but the competition was fierce. He was up against all these kids with expensive Ivy League degrees who had already done internships or had jobs at the most prestigious companies in the country. Steve had graduated from a local public college, paying his tuition by working long hours at crappy jobs. And once he earned his degree, he had never hired for anything, but more crappy jobs. He made his way to the second stall in the men's room in case the term crappy job was literal. Steve's tiny studio apartment was 1 floor above the takeout place called Cap'n Ernie's Fishboat. The greasy odor wafted upward to the carpet, furniture, and bedding, and the apartment always smelled of fried fish. Steve's clothes hanging in the closet had absorbed the smell. Sometimes stray cats followed him in the street, breathing in his fishy aroma. As soon as Steve got home from work, the shower was absolutely essential. Sometimes he felt like he could spray himself with the disinfectant he used to clean the gas station restrooms. By the time he showered and changed into clean, comfortable, if slightly fishy-smelling clothes, he was ready to eat something and get to his real work. He popped a frozen burrito in the microwave, grabbed a soda from the fridge, and sat down at the computer. The project he was working on, Chip of the Old Block, was a family-friendly fetch quest-based game featuring cartoony chipmunks. He was about halfway through the design as he hoped the company would be interested in it. But if they weren't, maybe he'd try to just bring himself out. Tired of cleaning toilets and waiting for something to happen. Reminded him he should message Amanda before it's past her bedtime. Recently, Steve's tiredness was waiting for something to happen when he led him to join a dating app. He was always dreamed of marrying a smart, kind, beautiful woman. They would live in a comfortable house and have 2 adorable kids, a boy and a girl. But dreams were one thing, reality was another. Strangely, one would meet many attractive women cleaning toilets and mopping floors at a gas station convenience store. Occasionally, an interesting woman would come into the store and pay for cash and grab a gallon of milk. But it was hard to say suave with a mop in your hand. For a while, he didn't think he was going to meet anyone through an app either. But then he had seen Amanda's profile, sent her a cautious message that only said hi. She said hi back almost immediately. After that, they progressed in actual conversation. Well, as close to an actual conversation as texting could be. Steve had drawn to Amanda's profile pic, not because she was traditionally beautiful, but because she seemed to radiate kindness. She had shoulder-length brown hair and a winning smile. She was a preschool teacher, and Steve figured that she was a good one because of her kindness, patience, and sense of humor. The weird thing about their relationship was that even though they've been chatting for over a month, they have gone out only 2 real dates. Steve worked at the gas station from 3 p.m. until 10 p.m., and Amanda worked at the preschool from 7:30 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. They couldn't have found a more incompatible schedule as if they had tried. Steve grabbed his phone and texted her. I hope you had a good day. She texted back. A kid threw up in my shoes first thing this morning. But at least my day better from there, lol. Steve chuckled. I guess they both had to deal with more of their fair share of grossness at their job. He typed LOL. If things went downhill from here, it would be pretty bad. I'll let you get some rest. Good night. She texted back night night with a sleepy face emoji. Steve smiled, set aside his phone, and settled back into work on his game until he was too tired to stay awake anymore. As soon as Steve opened the door to the convenience store, his manager, a humorless middle-aged man with an unfortunate name of Gilbert Hurlbutt, looked up from his phone and said, "Some kid spilled a gallon of blue slushy over there by back left cooler. Go mop it up." "No problem," Steve said, which was what he always said to Mr. Hurlbutt. It was a path of least resistance. It went to the janitorial closet and set a mop bucket under the faucet and utility sink. It would have killed Mr. Hurlbutt to say hello before he started barking orders. Steve poured some cleaning solution into the filling bucket and thought, not for the first time, but about the bizarreness of Mr. Hurlbutt's name. Mr. Hurlbutt's parents, presumably Mr. Hurlbutt Sr. and Miss Hurlbutt, knew that they were going to have a child who would be saddled with a ridiculous name. So why did they give a kid a normal name like Matthew or David or something instead of saddling him with an equally unwieldy first name? Of course, that being said, Mr. Hurlbutt would choose to go by Gil or Bert, and instead of name Gilbert, it was stitched right over his breast pocket on his uniform shirt. Steve's wondering thoughts resulted in a mop bucket overflowing. He filled it and poured out some of the excess water, then carried the bucket to a mop back to the store and cleaned up the sticky mess. Steve's hands were mopping, but his mind was on the game and what he would work on as soon as he got home from his meaningless job. I said, "Can you spare me a moment?" Steve was so preoccupied that he hadn't even noticed that a man was standing right next to him and trying to get his attention. The man in question did not resemble any customer that usually got in the store. Exhausted, inexpensively dressed people coming in or going in the night shift jobs. Even though Steve didn't know such about clothes, he could tell the man's dark suit was expensive. It was spotless and wrinkle-free. It seemed to have tailored the contours of his body. "I'm sorry, can I help you?" Steve said. "I think you perhaps can," the man said. He said strong, chiseled features and haircut that looked expensive as a suit. "That is, if you're Steve Snodgrass." "I am," Steve said, pointing at his name tag and immediately feeling like an idiot. "Could you step outside for me for a moment?" the man asked. The situation was even stranger and stranger. Steve had thought the man would need help locating an item in the store, but now it appeared the guy wanted something from him personally. Steve felt nervous. Was this guy a cop? A serial killer? "I don't know about that, sir," Steve said. "I just started my shift, and I'm not due for a break yet. I don't want to get in trouble with my boss." "Well, I'll help. If you'll step outside with me, you may find yourself working for another boss or a great deal more money." He smiled. His teeth were perfect. Steve was growing more confused by the moment. "What is this man in the mafia? I'm afraid I don't understand." "Perhaps this will help," the man said, handing Steve a business card. Steve looked down at the card and read, "Brock Edwards, Talent Acquisition, Fazbear Entertainment." It took a few seconds for the name Fazbear to ring in his bell, but then Steve remembered the kids' pizza places that had once been wildly popular had suffered downfall after a variety of criminal allegations. There had been talk of murders, though Steve didn't remember how many. There was weirder stuff too, stories about paranormal events and that kind of nonsense. Steve was still puzzled, but he had to admit he was curious too. "Maybe I could help out for just 1 minute," he said. "Very good, Mr. Snodgrass," Mr. Edwards said, following Steve out the back door. They stood back near the dumpster. The fumes of garbage hung in the air. "You are familiar with Fazbear Entertainment?" Mr. Edwards asked. "Kind of," Steve said. I went to the pizza place a couple times as a kid, birthday parties and that kind of thing, but also I know a little about the scandals." "Unfortunately, that's what a lot of people know about Fazbear Entertainment," Mr. Edwards said. "Over the past few years, there have been a number of individuals determined to smear our company's reputation by spreading terrible rumors, and of course, the public dines on that kind of filth." He straightened his already straight tie. "And so, as a result, Fazbear Entertainment is in need of some rebranding." "Okay, but I still don't see what this has to do with me." Mr. Edwards looked Steve up and down. "You are the game designer, are you not? An aspiring one, I guess you could say. How does this guy know he made games? You sell yourself short, Mr. Snodgrass. You posted 2 games online, and they're quite good." "Thanks," Steve said. Though he still wasn't sure how this guy found out about his games, he wondered what else Brock Edwards knew about him. "And so, there's where you come in," Mr. Edwards said. "In an effort to laugh off our directors, Fazbear Entertainment wants to put a line of video games based on the lies we spread about the company. Horror games." "You mean like horror games based on what people say about the old pizza places?" Steve said. "And the idea seemed distasteful at best, cruel at worst." "Yes," Mr. Edwards said. "They would be scary, but at the same time would poke fun at the ridiculousness of all the libelous rumors and accusations." He would put on a smile that looked calculated. "He would like you to develop a series of 4 games for us. Mr. Snodgrass. I think you would find the compensation much more generous than what we're currently being paid for. Mopping. A job offer in game development? That's what Steve had dreamed his entire life, so why did it feel so weird and wrong? We'd want you to straight right away, of course. We would value a remote location where you'd have everything you need to work on this game. Plus, everything you need to live comfortably. A spacious condominium, personal chef, staff to run your errands and do your laundry, a home gym, if you choose to use it. He looked disdainfully at Steve's gin-free physique. He'd give you until Friday to tie up any loose ends. It's an incredible opportunity, Mr. Snodgrass. What do you say? Horror games, huh? Steve said, stalling. As if they were horror games based on ghosts, goblins, or other purely fictional characters, he couldn't have a problem with them. But horror games based on what was understood as real murders made him feel queasy. Fazbear Entertainment said the murders weren't real, but they would say that, wouldn't they? That's right, Mr. Edwards said. They would need to be based on the Fazbear Entertainment universe, but you'd have a lot of creative freedom within those bounds. But I couldn't work on them here. There was something troubling with this whole situation that he couldn't quite figure out. No, the company's very specific about that. They don't want any chance of leaks. Living town for a short period of time with another sticking point. It was hard enough to see Amanda given their different work schedules. They had gotten so close yet, and to make a long-distance relationship work. He was starting to really think he liked her. If he took a chance at Fazbear Entertainment, the company with a dicey reputation at best, it was worth the risk of losing his chance with Amanda. I truly appreciate the offer, Mr. Edwards, but I just don't feel right about taking the job. The world is a scary enough place without adding more horror to it. I really want to concentrate on my family-friendly games. He had personal reasons for saying no as well, but it was probably the biggest one. Didn't kids already have enough to be scared of in today's world? Mr. Edwards laughed for a longer time than is comfortable. Do you mean to tell me you're going to walk away from this opportunity, go back inside the store, and pick up that mop? Yes, I do, Steve said, but thank you for your offer. He wasn't looking forward to going back inside, yet being yelled at by Mr. Holbutt and cleaning the floors and toilets, but somehow he felt strangely good about the decision. Still in his pajamas, Steve padded barefoot in the kitchen and started a pot of coffee. A little something to eat and some major caffeine, and he already settled and work on chip off the old block for a few hours, until the time to head to gas up. He popped some bread into the toaster and grabbed a couple of eggs from the fridge. His phone was pinged. Thinking it might be Amanda, he picked it up and someone messaged him on a dating app. Strange. It definitely wasn't Amanda because she would have just sent him a regular text. Curiosity got the better of him. He opened the map and saw a message from Victoria. Who the heck is Victoria? She opened the message and read, "Hi, would you like to chat sometime?" He clicked on the picture and enlarged it. As he saw it, he gasped. If someone had asked him to describe what the physical detail of this woman would be, his description would exactly match the photo he was looking at. Victoria had long, wavy black hair with beautiful sheen that caught the light. He had big, doe brown-like eyes and sun-kissed complexion. Her cheekbones were high and her lips were full. She wore just enough makeup to accentuate her natural beauty. Of course, he reminded himself people were notoriously dishonest on the internet. This could be a random photo that just someone less physically attractive had found to pass off as their own. Or it could be a photo of the actual woman from 20 years ago. But if it wasn't, what if it was a vision of Lovelace was real and decided, for whatever reason, that he was interested in him? Wait, he told himself. What about Amanda? Amanda was a nice, caring person, and there seemed to be a real connection between them. But then again, they were in such an early stage of the relationship that he wasn't even sure he could call it a relationship yet. And they hadn't seen and they're exclusive. Amanda could be dating half a dozen other guys for all he knew. He replied to Victoria's message and typed one word, short. As soon as he typed send, Steve smiled, something burning, as he liked a few times more. He was entirely lost track of where he was and he was doing. Home, kitchen, breakfast, he reminded himself. He turned the corner and saw black smoke rolling from the toaster. After he threw away the burnt toast, opened a window and let the smoke out, and poured himself a cup of coffee, Eve sat down at the computer to work on his game. The mysterious message from Victoria, whoever she might be, had left him too keyed up to feel like eating anything. His phone pinged again. "Hi, it's me. I'm glad you said you would like to chat. Is now a good time?" "Sure," Steve typed. "Anytime's a good time." As soon as the words appeared on the screen, Steve did a facepalm. So much for not sounding too eager. "I'm sure I never used a dating app before. I'm really more of a face-to-face person. Would you like to meet sometime? Maybe this weekend?" "Sure." "Victoria, would you like to come to my house if you want? It's out of the country. It's real quiet. We'd have plenty of privacy to talk and get to know each other. Are you sure you want me to come over to your house for our first meeting? Wouldn't we meet in a public place first in case I'm a creep or something? Lol, I trust you. How about Saturday at noon? I'll make us lunch." "Sounds great." As soon as they finished chatting, Steve remembered that he had plans with Amanda for Saturday. He had an understanding person, though. She'd be okay with rescheduling. I texted her, "So sorry, but something came up. Can't do Saturday." Almost immediately, she sent it back disappointed, but okay, with a sad emoji. Steve felt guilty, but he told herself he'd make it up to her. Matt, still dressed in a uniform of a commuter, he managed to dunk a donut in his coffee. But I thought things were going good with Amanda, he said. They are, Steve said, had called Matt, asking if he could meet him all night donut shop after work. His life was getting way too eventful all of a sudden, and Matt, his best friend since freshman year of college, was the only person he felt he could talk to about it. Matt was unfailingly honest, and he never hesitated to tell Steve when he was making a horrible mistake. Matt also seemed to have an inferior habit of always being right. But this message, Steve said, it came out of nowhere, and this woman, suddenly he lost for words. This woman said he sent goons to beat the crap out of you, and if you didn't go out with her. Steve laughed. No. This woman said if you didn't go out with her, she'd make all your darkest secrets matter of the public record. No, Steve said, still laughing. But to be fair, my life today has been boring to accumulate any dark secrets. He took a deep breath and tried to find words to explain himself. This woman, he picked up his phone. Here, let me show you. He opened up and found Victoria's picture and showed it to Matt. Matt's jaw dropped and so did the donut. Whoa, he said. I get it. I totally get it. Steve handed him another donut. He was relieved that Matt understood. Even though it was the beginning of the doubt his GPS, Steve turned off a narrow, winding country road into another narrow, winding country road. It was beautiful out there, with rolling hills and trees and an occasional pasture full of cows. But Steve couldn't imagine living somewhere so remote. He also couldn't imagine that a woman as beautiful and glamorous as Victoria would want to live in such a rural area. Surely, someone so lovely and charming would want to live where she could be seen or could be seen. Turn left on Bushy Pine Road, the GPS ordered. Your destination will be on your left. The destination seemed to be a long gravel driveway that led into a densely wooded area. Steve drove doubtfully, but GPS had never steered him wrong before. Finally, the driveway ended at a house. It was small and modest, a neat little white cottage and green shutters and a green front door. It looked more like a home of someone's grandmother more than an attractive young single woman. He parked, grabbed a bouquet of grocery store flowers and selected for her and walked up to knock on the door. No one answered. Steve sighed. Had this been some sign of a trick? He tried the door and was surprised to find it unlocked. Hello? Anybody home? He called. When there was no response, he stepped inside. He wouldn't normally have entered someone's house without permission, but he reasoned he had been invited and it was good enough. Steve was surprised to find himself standing in an empty room. The white walls were blank. The windows were curtainless, and there was not a single piece of furniture in sight. He wondered if he could made some kind of mistake. Is she meeting a real estate agent trying to sell him a house instead of as a date? The house has been empty, but it had not been silent. There was a soft but steady mechanical whirring sound, and then, so suddenly it made Steve jump, a loud, high-pitched ringing that hurt his ears. His brain. What was going on in this bizarre place? He felt suddenly unsteady about his feet and propped himself up against the wall, regaining balance. Steve! A horrible ringing stopped, and was replaced by a voice like velvet. I'm so sorry, I must not have heard the door. Her looks did not disappoint. She made the picture online, except better, because she was standing right there in front of him. He was wearing a form-fitting green dress, which complemented the flecks of green on her brown eyes. Her figure was fit and toned, and worked out regularly, and was also curvy in the right places. Steve was instantly besotted. Hi, he said, wishing he had some kind of clever opening line. Since he hadn't, he shoved the bouquet at her instead. She received the flowers and smiled. All lovely lips and straight white teeth. How beautiful and thoughtful of you. Thank you. She looked around the room and tried to imagine it with his point of view. I know I haven't done much with the place yet, but with the right touches, I think it'll be really cozy. And for lunch, I thought we could have some sort of picnic on the floor. He put on a blanket and a bread and cheese and fruit and some chocolate. That sounds nice. Before Steve could say anything else, there was another horrible high-pitched alarm scream. He looked out of the direction and saw the red light flashing in the smoke alarm. It was strange. He could neither see nor smell smoke. He reached up to try to disable it, but lost his footing as the room began to spin faster and faster out of control merry-go-round. Steve opened his eyes. He was laying on the couch, but where? The layout of the small room was familiar, but he hadn't seen it before. It was been empty. Now there was a chocolate-brown couch he was laying on and a matching armchair. There was a coffee table stacked with both fashion magazines and stag-themed magazines, and a large cabinet with a flat-screen TV, and a few different kinds of video game consoles. The walls that had been blank before now hung in the photos of Victoria. Victoria hiking in the mountains, her lustrous hair windblown and beautiful. Victoria's tan and toned and gorgeous in an emerald green two-piece swimsuit, lounging on the beach. Victoria eating an ice cream cone on the park bench, looking adorable in a dab of ice cream on her perfect nose. Victoria herself came padding barefoot into the room, wearing jeans and a black-fitted t-shirt. Had she been wearing a dress earlier? Then again, the room had been empty earlier, too. Steve was hopelessly confused and disoriented. Hey, babe, Victoria said. You had a bad dizzy spell and kind of passed out on the couch. I brought you a glass of water. Why don't you try to sit up and drink a little? Steve had never had a dizzy spell before, but now he thought about it, he had been turned nervous about the date to eat breakfast this morning. He sat up slowly. I think Maybe I need to eat something. He accepted the water glass and surprised to find himself drinking it down in a few gulps. Weren't we going to have a picnic on the floor? Now Victoria looked confused. A picnic on the floor? You mean like on our first date? Our first date, but isn't this... Steve looked around the furnished room. I'm sorry, I'm really confused. Victoria sat down. I'm sorry, I'm really confused. Victoria sat down next to him and took his hand. Confused or not, Steve loved having her close to him, touching him. It happens, honey. It happens, he said, squeezing his hand. Sometimes you forget things. You have memory loss as a difficult car accident you had a few years ago. I don't remember a car accident, Steve said. He was a very careful driver. Exactly, Victoria squeezed his knee. You took a bad hit on the head. Brain injury. Most of the time you're fine, but sometimes your memory just wipes temporarily. And then it was like a reset. You're all good again. It was upsetting news. He wondered how many times Victoria had to tell him. But I always reset through. I remember things again. Victoria smiled. Always. Steve nodded. The explanation was weird, but also made sense. His sense was time was off. It explained everything. So, you and I were together? Victoria laughed. We were very, very together. Wait. He got up on the couch, grabbed one of the framed pictures of the wall, and handed it to him. The photo was taken outdoors under an arch of flowers. Victoria stood smiling in a lacy light gown and veil, holding a banquet of flowers that matched the ones decorating the arch. Steve was standing beside her in a tux. The main thing he was wearing was an impossibly big smile. No wonder, Steve thought, his wedding day had been the happiest day of his life. Too bad he had no memory of it whatsoever. You're so beautiful, he said. It was a beautiful dress, Victoria said. Not just in the picture, Steve said. Always. You're always so beautiful. Oh, you're too sweet to me, Victoria said. He leaned forward and pressed her lips to his. It was wonderful. It felt like their first kiss. Daddy, wake up. It's time for pancakes. Steve opened his eyes. Two children are standing beside the bed. They were wearing pajamas and some kind of cartoon characters on them and jumping up and down, yelling, pancakes, pancakes. The girl looked to be around 4 and the boy around 2. Both of them had thick back hair and big brown, green freckled eyes. They were always beautiful children. The girl and boy he had always wanted. He had no memory of pregnancies, didn't even know the kids' names. Were they his? Pancakes, huh? He said, sitting up in the bed, trying to vein and orient himself. This is, confusing, to say the least. But I think it'll explain itself in some part. But yeah, that's it for today. Tomorrow we are reading pages 21 to 40. And yeah, tomorrow's just going to be another normal day. I don't think we have a weird day until we get into 60 to 80. But I can check that real quick. We don't have a weird day until we hit... Oh no, the only weird thing we're hitting is 40 to 60 actually. Because it's 40 to 57 instead. So that's nice. But yeah, hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. If you like, be a vision, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.